Here's a segment from this month's edition of St. Charles Parish Today, a new monthly local talk show. In parish government, as with most organizations, the budget is sort of like a Bible. It offers a plan and rules to follow with respect to operations and activities over any given year. It prioritizes funds and acts as a roadmap to guide decisions, and the numbers don't lie. Each year, the St. Charles Parish Finance Department spends months putting together the parish budget, which clocks in at well over 100 pages. Each department and agency that receives funds from parish coffers is consulted, and the parish council has the authority to enact amendments and ultimately approve the document. Budgets are considered a boring topic by many, but we're here today to decipher just why this process is so important with Grant Dewsome, St. Charles Parish Finance Department Director. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Well, thank you for having me.
So why is the budget process so important? And I know that's kind of a big question, but...
Well, especially right now. But the budget process, well, really you have two big documents that the parish puts out every year. You have the budget and you have the audit, both of those of which are done by my department. But the most important thing usually is the budget because it sets out what you're going to do for the entire year. It says what you can spend, what you can spend it on, and what you can't do, really, because if it's not in there, you can't do it.
Right.
So it dictates, it's really our roadmap of everything we're going to do for the entire year.
Right. So as far as revenue sources, because of course if you're going to budget, you have to have funds coming in to budget. Can you talk a little bit about what funds larger portions of the parish government?
Well, our biggest funding sources are our taxes, of course. And we have two sources of taxes. We have ad valorem, which are your property taxes, and we have sales taxes. And right now, the parish, the government, has the 1% sales tax, which goes to public works to fund roads and drainage. We have the 3/8 and the 0.5%, and both of those go to the general fund. We also have a 1/8, but that goes to the fire department, which is separate. Our other primary source is, of course, our ad valorem taxes, and we levy different millages for different departments. For example, the general fund levies just over 3 mills. Recreation, we have mosquito control to pay for the mosquito contract, road lighting to keep the lights on. And then we have other sources that come through us that we act as a pass-through, like the Council on Aging, the health unit, and 911, stuff like that. But those are our primary sources. We also receive grant revenue, but those are the ones that we use to basically predict. We predict what we're going to receive, and based on what we're going to receive is how we budget what we're going to spend our items on. Right. If we're going to do any large capital items, for instance, the past few years we've had large increases in sales taxes, which have allowed us to do some of the larger capital projects that you've seen, the EOC, and of course the new community center, among other things as well. And of course, in public works, that always allows them to do their massive amount of capital outlay every year.
So one thing many residents may not know is that every large parish project, as you were saying, gets its start by being included in one of those yearly budgets, and residents have a chance to voice their opinions on those budgets by reviewing and commenting on them. So how can they do that?
They can come to our budget hearings every year. Just to kind of backtrack a little bit, the budget process starts in June, July of every year. And it begins with the finance department meeting with each department head individually to go over their wish list, their wants, their needs. And we go through, make sure our budget balances. We prepare the budget, we get together, we meet with the parish president, he approves it, and then we go to the council for the 3 budget hearings that we're required to have. At any of those 3 budget hearings, anyone from the public can come up and voice their concern. Now, we will have the budget posted online a month before the actual hearings take place. And of course, if they have any questions at any time, they can always ask the finance department about certain issues they may find they need to talk about. So, you know, we do get public input, and obviously they can come at any meeting they like and speak about the current items that are being discussed, and also the council opens it up to previous items that had been discussed the days before.
Right. And as far as adopting a budget, there is a timeline for the parish council to go ahead and do that, correct?
Yes, the parish council has to adopt the budget 30 days prior to the start of the new year, which is December 1st. If they do not adopt it by then the parish president's budget as submitted before any amendments were made during the hearings is what goes into effect.
Okay. So the federal government, for anybody who watches national news, has big budget issues. Part of that's yearly deficits and debt. What makes parish government different from that?
Well, the difference is the parish government, we cannot operate at a deficit. The federal government, well, they write the checks. They can make their own money, so they can go into a deficit. We are not allowed to do that. So we have to submit a balanced budget, and we cannot, do certain things like the government does today.
Okay. So if you had one suggestion for somebody who maybe next year they want to get more involved in the budget process and offer their opinion, what's one thing that you suggest that they do?
My main suggestion would be to go online and print out the budget, or at least review the budget, because the budget's about 300 pages. But we have a lot of documentation in the front that explains the entire budget process. It's all writing. And it explains what goes into it, when things have to be adopted, our different sources of revenue, the capital projects that we may have for that year, and it just kind of lists everything out before you get into the actual meat of a bunch of numbers,
right,
and 200 pages of numbers. We do have a lot of documentation in there just to kind of assist reviewers of the budget so that they can understand what's being done this year. And a lot of it is repetitive, but it does help, because once you read it a few times, you tend to know what you're looking at, so that when you get into the actual budget, you can say, oh, okay, this was that project. Now I see where it's put into this certain line item. So that's probably the best thing to do, is just kind of read through the budget. And I mean, it's very large. It's close to 300 pages this year. But if they can go through that and read the preamble, I guess in the beginning, the parish president's budget message, it gives you a better indication of what is in the budget.
Right. Basically like a summary.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. It's very good information for what can be thought of as sort of a daunting subject.
Sure. Thank you.
All right.
For having me.
Thank you. Catch the entire episode right here on Channel 6, daily at 5 p.m. or watch anytime at scptoday.com.